My name is Eva and I'm 21 years old and I'm the editor of Are magazine. It means we children and I actually stole it. There's this film, it's one of my favourite films. It's this like cult German film called Christiane F. Wir Kinder vom Bahnhof Zoo, which is Christiane F., that's her name, We Children from Zoo Station, and it's this film about a true story about Christiane F., who was a 14-year-old heroin addict. But I remember like finding the translation and I thought Vera Kinder was just like by itself, like We Children is really beautiful because it kind of like, it's like this communal like we children, and I mean the whole film is about, I mean they're all heroin addicts, but it's like them, their time, like the whole aesthetic of like that time in Berlin, and yeah, I just like that communal idea because the whole aim for my magazine was to try and get more contributors that would write about like relatable content. And if I had all these children, you know, putting in poems about their life, you know, like real juicy sort of stuff, it would be this like Vera Kinder empire. I started it while I was living in Sweden because I had all these like notes on my computer, small poems I had written, things I wanted to write about, but I didn't feel like there was a place on the internet or within literature journals for like the work I was doing, because I hadn't really done like any sort of like legit creative degree or creative writing degree, so I didn't feel like my work was good enough. So I started it sort of as like a platform for like, I mean, I call it mediocre art and writing. So yeah, I started it just so I could put work on that is like truthful, in the sense that like what I was writing about was like quite like emotional or like real, or like things that have happened to me that like I felt were very sincere, but the actual language I was using, you know, it wasn't like fully legit or like proper in terms of like literature journals that would probably like decline my work. A lot of people say I'm like quite dark and they've said that my magazine is quite dark, but I don't really see it that way. It's very, like you said, very satirical, very cynical, but at the same time I was really inspired by like a lot of things I was seeing in Sweden. There were lots of contrast between professional and unprofessional, and like serious and not so serious, and I was really interested in those contrasts because it was something I hadn't really seen. Well, I mean a lot of people do it, but something that like in Australia wasn't like happening. And in terms of magazines, you know, you have your glossy kind of Vogues and W mags and even things like V magazine that are very like proper, and I sort of like that idea of seeming childish on the surface, but then beneath the surface there was actually more to it. With social media now, like so many people are starting their own sort of stuff. They're starting their own online zines, online magazines. Everyone's like a photographer now or something, and they're trying to make their voice be heard. But what I was seeing was a lot of like contrived, insincere sort of stuff. Like, I don't want to like sound big-headed, but a lot of people copying other people's like aesthetics and like not doing their own thing, like just copying other people's opinions. And what I wanted to see was like unfiltered, uncontrived, really sincere, relatable content that didn't have to be, you know, a polished, it didn't need like a polished outcome, or, you know, whether it's writing or it's like a photo, you know, it didn't have to have that super aesthetic Petra Collins sort of look. And yeah, that's what I personally wanted to see, because the stuff I was reading wasn't very relatable. I feel like there's a really big pressure to produce and have things finished, and what I saw, like specifically at university and just like on Instagram and stuff, is overproduction. And I think that's where like the artwork or the creative work starts to lack any sort of meaning. And like, I was speaking with a friend once, and we were saying like, what's good art? And she said good art is true art. And I think that's a really big thing behind Virkinder and the type of people I interview, like Kat Hem, the type of stuff I write about. And a lot of the time I'm scrolling through Instagram and someone will follow me, or I'll find another account and it's just like any other account, and it's like they have to produce to, you know, like get an internship, get a job in the creative industry, but it just lacks anything that's really meaningful and true. And now I feel like a lot of pressure because I'm trying to do issue 2 and I'm trying to think of good content, and I don't want to just create content for the sake of content. But yeah, I find it like a lot of pressure to post on Instagram, you know, because you need to keep up the follower ratio. And like, the thing is, if you want to make it in the creative industry, you have to like show that you're still there. And yeah, I find that really hard because I don't want to churn out crap. The ideal would be that Virkinder would become this legit platform that still maintained its sort of views and values and its aesthetics, and I would have enough money to make it print as opposed to just online. If Virkinder, you know, doesn't come to fruition, I'd like to still stay in the creative industry. I'm not sure whether it's going to be writing or visuals like photography or film, but yeah, I still haven't managed to find my niche. At the moment it's Virkinder, but who knows what the future holds. If I could crawl back into the womb, because right now I can't walk. If I could curl up, knees to my face, close my eyes and sleep forever. If I could crawl back into the womb, that would be paradise. And when I wake, if I woke, I would crawl back out, all the while unzipping, undoing this body from my previous self. A million dreams and terrors left behind me, no hassle or stress ahead, just a clean path for life and all its empty delights. And when I'm on that path again, I know I'd want to turn around and crawl right back into the womb, because its silence is the only paradise I know.